Hello everyone, myself Annu Kumari, BSc Chemistry Honors third year. Today I am going to prepare an audio lecture for visually impaired student. My topic is water pollution. Water in abundant amount is required for use in agriculture, industry and household. After use, however, it get highly polluted. The various water pollutant can be classified into as many as categories. These are discussed below in some detail. Various water pollutants. First, sewage and other oxygen demanding waste. Sewage from municipalities and other oxygen demanding waste from industries and agriculture comprise of organic matter which undergo oxidation radially under the action of microorganisms. These wastes are generally disposed of by dumping them into rivers. If the amount of sewage or other waste discharging is relatively small, the dissolved oxygen is sufficient to convert carbon into carbon dioxide, sulfur into sulfates, phosphorus into phosphates, and nitrogen into ammonia. And the river water is not so badly polluted. If, however, the amount of discharge is very high and the dissolved oxygen becomes insufficient, carbon is converted to methane, nitrogen compounds are converted to amines, which give offensive odor of rotten fish decaying in casserole. The sulfur compound change into hydrogen sulfides, which give smell like that of rotten egg, and phosphorus compounds produced give a foamy odor. Thus, a sewage and other oxygen demanding waste become water pollutant on two accounts. One, they give rise to compounds which have an extremely annoying odor. Second, they deplete the dissolved oxygen from water, which is rendered harmful because water devoid of dissolved oxygen cannot sustain aquatic life. It affects or even kill fish and other aquatic living beings. Okay. Eutrophication. The enrichment of water by nutrition is known as eutrophication. Lakes and water moving water age through eutrophication and over a period of several millennia, they get converted into swamp and marshes. Eutrophication has an adverse effect on fish as well. The aquatic plants which bloom in lake sinks in autumn and winter and decay the next summer, depleting oxygen from lower colder part of lake. The cold water fish, which according to Darwin's theory get habitated to acquire more oxygen, cold water dissolve more oxygen. For their growth have to face shortage of dissolved oxygen. As the result, the cold water fish lose out to warm water fish and which need less oxygen. Humans who prefer cold water fish are thus deprived of getting their choice fish. Fourth, exotic organic chemical. The exotic organic chemicals include pesticide, surfactant, among detergents, many industrial product and several decomposition product of other organic compound. Analysis of pollutant water reveals the presence of wide cross section of these compounds are also many others. These organic chemicals are generally toxic to fish. Some of these are toxic even at extremely low concentration around 1 ppm. With the fast development of chemical industries, several new organic chemical compounds are introduced every year which may find their way into river and lakes. Since the effect of these new compounds are naturally or natural ecosystem may be not known, there is every possibility that an irreparable irreparable damage is done before scientists realize it. Fifth, inorganic mineral and chemical compound. A large variety of inorganic chemicals find their way into normal water from municipal and industrial wastewater and urban runoffs. These pollutants, comprising of compounds of mercury, lead, arsenic, cadmium, sodium, calcium, fluorine, etc., injure or kill fish and other aquatic lives and also render the water unfit for drinking or for industrial use. A pollutant a prominent example is the presence of mercury in water. At one time, it was believed that metallic mercury sinks into the sediments and remains there in chemically inert metallic form. But now it is known that anaerobic bacteria in bottom muds convert inorganic mercury into methyl mercury, which can lead to mercury poisoning in living beings. A petroleum drilling brine is discharged along with crude oil. When the latter is pumped to the surface, sometimes the volume of brine may be more than three times of the volume of crude oil recovered. The brine is a potential pollutant of water. Mineral containing sulfur, example iron pyrites, copper pyrites, on coming in contact with air and water yield sulfuric acid, which is carried in lakes and rivers by water draining into the mines. The presence of the acid affects aquatic life. In cold countries, NaCl, CaCl2 are added in large amount to melt snow from the road in winter. These salt eventually run off the road on contaminant well water and also find their way into lakes and rivers and seriously affect the aquatic life. Some other metals which whose compound frequently act as water pollutant are lead, arsenic and cadmium. Lead. Compounds of lead which enter into water are PbCl2, PbBr2, PbBrCl, PbO, PbS and originate from lead minerals. Lead in form of PbOH whole twice get into entry into water from lead pipes. Excessive intake of lead by human cause disruptive of synthesis of hemoglobin. It also results in loss of appetite, ammonia, kidney malfunctioning, nervous disorder and brain damage. Arsenic. The main source of arsenic compound in water are pesticide, fungicide and herbicides. Arsenic contamination may also occur due to discharge of some industrial waste. Dissolution of arsenic mineral is another source of arsenic compound. Arsenic compounds are highly toxic. The toxicity arises from complication of arsenic 3 with SH group of enzyme which lead to inhibition of enzymatic action in human body. Since arsenic is structurally similar to phosphorus, its presence interferes with the presence of with the process of phosphoxylation in human body. Higher doses of arsenic result in coagulation of protein which causes cramps and paralysis and even death. Cadmium. Cadmium find its way into water from industrial discharge and from nickel cadmium batteries. It is highly toxic, excessive dose causing kidney malfunctioning, ammonia, disorder of bone marrow, etc. It may be mentioned that according to International Register of Potentially Toxic Chemicals of United Nations Environment Program, there are nearly 5 million known chemicals in the world today. Are about 40,000 new chemicals are added to this list every year. Of these, about 75,000 chemicals are in common use, amongst with a large number are positively known to be toxic. A briefly list of toxic elements whose whose toxic ions are most commonly present in municipal and industrial waste, is given. As is well known, the normal growth and development of animal and human being are both about by specific enzymes present in their body. The toxins ions in general attack the active site of these enzymes, react with SH group of enzyme and thus cause their complete inactivation, as for example the functioning of metalloenzymes is inhibited by the replacement of harmful metal ion of the enzyme by toxic metal ion. It is to be noted it is to be noted Presciently that it is not the presence of particular chemicals but its concentration which actually matters in toxicology. Thus, the elements such as AS, AL, SB, Ba, beryllium, cadmium, cobalt, copper, cesium, lead, molybdenum, mercury, zinc, etc., which are listed as environmental hazards, act as arsenic trioxide, a deadly poison, is known to be act as tonic at trace concentration. This means that for pollution control, we have only to control the concentration of toxic elements. Any number of toxic elements may be present in drinking water, but as long as their concentration are below the prescribed limit, they are harmful. The permeable limits of some common elements are laid down by United States Public Health Drinking Water Standards given in Table 3. The BIS value whereas available are also included in table. The drinking water should be colorless and odorless. Its pH should lie between 6 and 9. It should be free from harmful microorganisms and its dissolved oxygen content should lie between 4 and 6 ppm. It should not contain the above mentioned chemical beyond their permissible limit of concentration. Sixth, sediments. Sediments are particles of soil and minerals which are washed from croplands, undeveloped lands, unprotected forest oils, overgrazed pastures, stripped mines, roads, bulldozed urban areas, etc., by storms and floodwaters. Sediments fill reservoirs and stream channels, plug water filters, erode power turbines and pumping equipment, and reduce the amount of sunlight available to green aquatic plants. The sediments also cover the fish nets, the egg laid by then in water, and their food supplements supplies. This reduces the pollution of fish and shell. Seventh, radioactive substances. Radioactive substances from nuclear power plant, waste of uranium and thorium mining and refining, and also industries and institutes which utilize radioactive materials if carried by water become source of harmful radiation heat. Large amount of water are used for cooling purposes in thermal and nuclear power plants. Water is also used as a coolant in some industries. Cooling water is thus discharged at a raised temperature. The increased temperature has several adverse effects on certain properties of water. The rates at which the chemical reaction occur increase considerably. This result in faster assimilation of water waste and hence faster depletion of dissolved oxygen which affect aquatic life. The rate of evaporation also increase appreciably with increase in temperature. This result in greater wastage of water in form of its vapor and so on. Oil. Oil pollution represent from the discharge of oil from oil tankers and offshore drilling rigs, accidentally or intentionally. An example of accidental oil discharge was the release of amount 1 lakh metric ions of Kuwaiti oil on March 18, 1967, when the ship ran around of Cornwall near England. and broke into three pieces. The Royal Air Force spent several days trying to sell the oil afire with high explosives. Even now, several large tanker accidents are occurring every year. The most several environmental hazards in living history was caused by spilling and burning the tremendous quantity of oil emanating from Kuwait oil well, which are blasted off in Gulf War by Iraq troops when they were forced to retreat. The awfully hazardous pollution which were caused to surrounding atmosphere and adjoining oceans are unprecedented. Enormous damage was done to aquatic lives. Oil is also Oil is also discharged from oil tank initially. A tanker carrying a cargo of crude oil after discharging the oil at seaport, filling up its tank and seawater to act as ballast on return trip. Before the tanker docks, the sea water ballast contaminated with small residue of oil left in tank is returned to ocean. Some vessels which use oil fuel also tend to produce oil slinks which when wastewater or seawater ballast is dumped into the ocean from their fuel tank. The most adverse effect of oil pollution is on the seabirds. The oil penetrates their feathers, displacing the oil which is normally trapped in the feathers and provide bouncing and isolation against cold. The elimination of entrapped air makes the bird colder and more susceptible to disease. In the absence of entrapped air, the bird experiences difficulty in flying. For instance, about one lakh birds lost their lives when the Kuwaiti oil tanker met in accident on March 18, 1967. Oil pollution adversely affects the other ocean life as well. Some of the constituents of oil, such as 3,4 benzyl pyrene, are carcinogenic. 10th, detergent. Detergent comprise of surfactant, that is surface active agents, which are organic compounds having polar or hydrophilic groups such as COH, SO3H, NH4 positive, or non-polar groups soluble in water. Some common detergents are linear alkyl sulfonate, alkyl benzene sulfonate, quaternary ammonium salt, polyoxyethylene, nonyl phenol. The surfactants in detergents cause a variety of pollution problems, some of which are follows. First, the surfactants are highly resistant to the action of biological agents and thus do not undergo biodegradation. Since the surfactants tend to retain their identity, their elimination from municipal waste water by usually treatment become problematic. Surfactant lead to inhibit oxidation of organic substances present in wastewater by forming a sort of envelope around them, with the result that these substances do not undergo oxidative degradation during the treatment of wastewater. These substances, generally being toxic, cause several water pollution to which there are no remedy. Third, being surface active, the surfactant cover the surface of small particles in colloidal suspension, thereby stabilizing them considerably. The colloidal particles thus do not aggregate and hence cannot be easily filtered off during subsequent treatment. The stabilized colloidal particle also reduce the activity of biological filter bed and activated sludge. The most undesirable effect of surfactant is their tendency to produce stable foam in river, sometimes several meters high, especially at low gates. These foams extended over several hundred meters of river water. The builders used in preparation of detergents mostly consist of sodium phosphate, which form stable soluble complexes with hardness liberating ions such as calcium and magnesium. These complexes act as plant nutrient and support rich growth of aquatic plants, which deplete dissolved oxygen when alive and produce disagreeable smell on decay. In the view of above problem, research is now going to be discover surfactants which are biodegradable and builders which are non-phosphatic.